Ladies and gentlemen, by now we have all licked our wounds from the absolute beatdown the Ravens put on our beloved Buffalo Bills last week, and we are on to Houston. That is right. This is my full breakdown, preview, and prediction for the Buffalo Bills versus Houston Texans game. Normally, how I structure these is that I bring on a creator that covers whatever team the Buffalo Bills are facing off against this upcoming week, and then afterwards, I break down everything and anything that there is to know about the Houston Texans, for example. Their offense, their defense, keys to winning the games, key matchups, injury reports, the whole nine. So fasten your seatbelts. Hopefully this is a very long and informative video. Now, guys, I do want to remind everybody that we have a 500 like button goal each and every single video, so definitely help me out in that department. And also subscribe and turn on bell notifications. We have a goal of over 50,000 subscribers by the end of the NFL season, so let's get to this milestone together. Now, on today's episode, we are going to be welcoming my good friend Ruben, who runs a YouTube channel titled 713 Houston Sports. He does a fantastic job. He's very high on the Houston Texans this week. So without further ado, let's welcome Ruben on in. Straight out the dentist chair and straight on the Dan Mitchell channel, my boy Ruben. 713 Sports Report. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on, Dan? You didn't have to put my business out there like that, man. But it's great to be here, brother. You know, we're all drugged up here, man. We're feeling fantastic.
Oh, man. Well, you know what, man? I'm sweating about this matchup. I'm not going to lie to you. Really? You're sweating too?
Dude, this offense hasn't been what I've been expecting, to start this season. We have yet to see this offensive explosion from your elite three wide receivers. Hopefully that happens soon, but hasn't seen it yet. We are stressing here in H, man.
So I have to ask you, right? Because I'm looking at all the numbers and everything like that. I mean, this offseason, y'all invested specifically with Stephon Diggs, obviously out of the slot. Same thing with Nico Collins, who is right now the number one ranked wide receiver in PFF. Tank is coming back. I just heard that he was a go for Sunday, which is ideal. But from what you've been seeing, what has been your offense's biggest issue?
It's been the O-line. It's been these penalties. So, Dan, in the past 3 games, we've had almost 32 penalties called against us. Majority of those penalties were on the offensive line. Against the Minnesota Vikings, our Pro Bowl left tackle, Laremy Tunsil, had 6 penalties himself.
I saw that.
This game against Jacksonville, there were still about 6-7 penalties on the offensive line. Illegal man downfield, false starts, holdings, and they almost lost you the game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. CJ Stroud had 360 plus yards, 2 tutties. We should have not barely won that game. How to come back and win that game. And it's like our head coach, D'Amico Ryan, said, we can be a really good football team when we're not in RA.
Yeah. Okay.
It's every single week, bro. It's every big play that happens, it's coming back because of a flag.
It's discipline. And it's mostly so the trenches is what you're saying. It's
mostly the offensive line, dude. This offensive line is struggling.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned that offensive line. As far as CJ getting pressured, I saw that he's taken about 13 sacks so far, 7 of which have been coming off of the blitz. I tried looking at the numbers, man, as far as all of your offensive linemen. And I mean, I'm not sure if PFF didn't show one of the biggest contributors to it, but who's so the absolute liability on that line as far as pass protection is concerned?
It's going to have to be your veteran right guard, Shaq Mason, or your left guard, Kenyon Green. Shaq Mason's been horrible all year. And this is someone who you traded for in the offseason last year, gave him a big 3-year extension to. With Kenyon Green, we kind of give him a little leeway. He was our first round pick 2 years ago, but missed all of last year. So this is basically his second season. But Shaq Mason has been a huge disappointment, and he has been a liability.
Okay. So certainly something I'm looking for, because I was trying to find mismatches that I liked within the trenches. So I'm thinking
I was looking at your boy Von Miller versus Titus Howard, but he just got suspended.
He's out now, man.
What happened?
He's out. I mean, I'll be honest with you. He had some incident with his girlfriend last offseason.
Oh, snap.
And I guess so there were no charges pressed at all. But then it just took him a year and a half for some reason just to go on ahead and suspend him after the fact. It sucks without him because he completely revived his career
Yeah.
out of nowhere this year, where like he was leading the team in pressures, like had a couple of sacks, and I was liking it too. But I mean, I like the Gregory Rousseau there. I like AJ
He's a
Epinesa.
stud.
Same thing with our young guy, Javon Solomon, too. He's been pretty solid. But as far as like victories within the trenches, I'm definitely going to be looking at Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones right within the interior.
Mm.
I got to ask about your injuries as well. Like, I pulled up your injury report and you said that Mixon was not at practice today.
No, he was not at practice, but he was at practice last week on Friday after missing, Wednesday and Thursday. So I think we'll get a better idea on Friday if he's ready to go, if he is there at practice. Tank Dell did return today.
Okay. Now, what's like your gut feeling?
I think they both play. I think this is a
Okay.
must-win game for them. It's at home, and we're looking at you guys like you guys are the cream of the crop right now, one of the best teams in the NFL. We're giving all our respect to the
And so you didn't
Buffalo
watch the
Bills.
Ravens game last week, man?
Hey man, listen, regardless, bro. Hey man, people mess up, bro.
Yeah.
Not everyone goes, 17-0. Hey,
Yeah.
I just got my ass whooped by the Minnesota Vikings, bro, the week before, so I know exactly how you felt. Or you just felt like,
And
well,
don't sleep on Sam Darnold, baby.
dude, what?
What the hell on Sam Darnold, by
And
the
the
way?
fact that he's like a couple months younger than Joe Burrow, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Let Kevin O'Connell find one, and dude, he's a genius. So
I
shout out to
mean,
Sam Darnold reviving that career.
so a lot of respect to Kevin O'Connell indeed. So, like, I mean, offensively, I think we already know what we're going to get. Like,
Uh-huh.
this is certainly a pass first team. Maybe some of the numbers are skewed because Mixon has been out, and I'm sure everyone in Houston certainly agrees that Akers is just not an NFL caliber running back. He's not that dude, but y'all look entirely different. I want to switch over to the defense
Mm-hmm.
as well. Um, has there been any concerns that you have seen so far from this defense? I'm looking at the numbers. Love your numbers, especially against the pass. Stingley's a dog. He saved you guys in the red zone
Mm-hmm.
last week twice for Jacksonville. And then also love Kamari Lassiter. And so I'm a huge Georgia Bulldogs fan, so love that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any concerns from your defensive side of the things? It could be like run defense, etc.
I would say the secondary, regardless how fantastic I think they have played, there have been moments where Kamari Lassiter has just been beat, and none of these quarterbacks have been able to put the ball on there. In week one, AR-15 missed 2 deep touchdowns against Kamari Lassiter. Against Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence missed one to Brian Thomas Jr. He just absolutely destroyed Lassiter on the route there. So as much as we love Kamara, he's definitely going to win some, but he's also a cornerback that's going to lose some as well. So
Yeah.
if one of your wide receivers, right, Khalil, Shakir, Keon Coleman, if they take advantage of that and Josh Allen puts it on the money, you're going to have some opportunities, to make some plays.
Mhm.
A lot easier said than done when you have a pass rush of, Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., who I think they help out with Stingley and Kamari Lassiter. But there have been some weak spots in our secondary. Jalen Petrie, who's been our third linebacker, he was picked on last week. Jacksonville, they relied heavily on Christian Kirk, so their slot guy, and he was just taking Jalen Petrie's lunch. Another issue, I could say we're not getting home as hype as we were for Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil, and yes, they are, 4 and 5 in pass rush win rate. They both have just, I think, 1 or 2 sacks each. So they have to start getting home. Almost sacks don't count. And, when you have a mobile quarterback like Josh Allen, you're going to need to get his ass on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as defending the run, right? Because like I was looking at your defensive line, and obviously, solid edge rushers, but it looks like those interior defensive linemen have been struggling against the run specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I think my question to that is that like, how are your linebackers in defending the run? Are they
Our
like that
linebackers are
hard-nosed
pretty
linebackers,
good.
like run stoppers, or are they more like pass coverage guys?
No, they're decent guys. They're run stopper guys. We don't have our starting linebacker, Christian Harris, yet. He has been on IR to start the season. We are also without our guy, Danico Autry, who we signed from Tennessee. He's serving a 6-game suspension, I think, for PEDs. But I would say this, just to be honest with you, the numbers in the running game have been skewed. The past 2 weeks, the Texans have let one big run go, which, just skews their numbers. they're okay against the run, but based off the last 2 weeks where just run could pop off, I could easily see a game where, hey, the first 5 carries we see James Cook struggling, and then he just pops one out for 30. Like, that's how the running game has been going for the Houston Texans.
Okay, got it. And so with all of this in mind, how do you see this game finishing out?
Dude, I have
Final
this
score
being a
prediction,
close
hot
one.
take. What do you got?
I have this being the close one, man. I have this
Yeah.
being like 24-27. I have both teams just showing why they are the best in the NFL. I have the defense winning some on both sides. This is going to be a great game. And, for Houston, we are still looking for that 4 quarters of complete offense. And hopefully we get that, we get that against a very good team like Buffalo. Man, dude, if we walk out of there with the win, we're saying, hey, we'd be one of the best in the league.
Yeah. And so it's not like that, so your division is very competitive this year. So regardless, you'll be okay. And same thing for the AFC East, man. I mean, now these New York Jets are going over to London and to face a Minnesota Vikings team that's undefeated in general and undefeated in London. So let's go Vikings.
Hey,
all right.
yeah, skull, baby, skull.
Let's go that. Well, Ruben, man, I sincerely appreciate you coming on, chatting a little bit about the Houston Texans and Bills matchup. Guys, his channel is linked in my description right now. Go subscribe to his channel. He's close to 20K right now, right?
Oh, I'm almost at 13. Almost at 13.
He's almost at 13. All right, guys, listen, Bills Mafia. You're going to want to go on ahead and go over to
hey, shout out to Bills Mafia, baby. We're going to be out there on Sunday. Hopefully we're going to crack a couple of tables if we get the opportunity. I got one more good injury left in me, bro.
Has one more.
That's it.
Hey, man, listen, salvage it, make it happen, find some Bills Mafia, make it work. But folks, go on ahead and subscribe to his channel. He's going to be putting out a bunch of preview content, I can imagine. And let's go into my preview. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, Ruben. Even after a damn root canal, the homie came in and was spitting that fire and making sure that he can keep Bills Mafia updated on everything that has to do with the Houston Texans. Now, guys, right before I dive into my preview and prediction, if you are not watching the games over at Club Bud Light at 34 Rush over at Batavia Downs, how dare you? In fact, I will even say that that's half of the reason why we lost last week. I'm talking to you watching this video. This is the good luck charm to watch it, people. I promise you. And if that's not convincing you, they have all the TVs in the world, along with one of the biggest ones I've ever seen in my entire life. Drink specials, food specials inspired by Thurman Thomas, and also halftime and end of game giveaways. Look at all these potential prizes you could be gearing up with. Now, guys, this bar is located right next to the gaming floor over at Batavia Downs. It is one of my personal favorite places on earth in Western New York, so certainly go on ahead and check them out this weekend. You're not going to want to miss it. So yeah, the Houston Texans, folks. I think if you were to ask anybody in Bills Mafia what game did they want the most, vast majority of them would probably say this Houston Texans game. And it's all due to the attachments and the drama of the Stephon Diggs departure from Buffalo this offseason. Everybody wants this win. They sincerely do. But we still need to give the team credit. They are also a 3-1 team, although that they have been playing some of their opponents a bit closer than usual. I have learned my lesson from underestimating a team based off of performances after the Baltimore Ravens experience we all had to deal with together. But starting off with the Houston Texans, let's roll into their offense, starting, of course, with C.J. Stroud, the Rookie of the Year in 2023. Now, so far this season, he has completed 94 of 139 of his passes, which is good enough for 67% completion. 1,053 yards, 7.6 yards per play, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 5 turnover-worthy plays. I mean, he is putting the ball in harm's way, but some of these DBs just aren't making a play, and time to throw is about 2.86 seconds. Now, certainly stay tuned because this is going to be a factor as far as Bills' defensive keys against this Houston Texans QB and offensive line. With passing concepts, this is yet another team that doesn't run play action too much. Only 33 attempts in general, 22 out of 33, 66.7% completion percentage. No play action, he's 72 for 106, 67.9. And the screen game, not a lot of screens ran from this Houston Texans offense. Now, I think this might be a bit skewed with play action because, as many of you guys know, Joe Mixon was hurt midway through week 2, and they've been rolling with Cam Akers. So whether or not that nobody is buying the fact that they want to make Cam Akers a key point of their offense might speak to that. However, we're going to have to really keep an eye out on whether or not Joe Mixon will be ready to play. Where it stands right now is that they don't know if he has a high ankle sprain or a mid ankle sprain, but so far he's been limited in practice, something to keep our eye out on. As far as pressure metrics for CJ, when kept clean, 72 for 105, that's 68.6 completion percentage. Under pressure, he's 22 for 34, 64.7 completion. When he's blitzed, 29 for 41, 70.7 completion percentage. Now, this dude, surprisingly enough, has been witnessing and feeling quite a bit of pressure from this offensive line. 52 overall pressures for this kid, and he's been sacked 13 times, 7 of which actually came from the blitz. Now, surprisingly enough, I typically don't encourage this Buffalo Bills team to send these DB linebacker blitzes. It's very much a feast or famine with this quarterback. His offensive line has not been doing a good job at protecting him from this. Remember, CJ is not the kind of guy that's like a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen that's going to be a threat with his legs. He wants to stay in the pocket. Hence why I think this blitz has been effective against him. But you better make sure you get home because otherwise he's going to be throwing it all over the field, 64.7% completion percentage, especially with all the damn wide receivers that he has in his back pocket. I mean, give me a break. And like I said, he's not going to be a rushing QB. He only has 41 yards rushing on the season alone. So something to think about. Now, moving on over to the regular offense. And I mean, this includes everything. This Houston Texans team is putting up 19.8 points per game. That is 17th in the league. 364.5 yards per game. That is 8th. Yards per play, 5.4 yards. Right around middle of the pack. Third down conversions, right smack dab middle in the pack, and then fourth down conversions, top 10 at number 6 at 71%. And red zone scoring is absolutely lethal. The second that they get in the red zone, more than likely they're going to be scoring. They're 4th in the league at 72% of the time. Now, again, I want to say this. I think that the Houston Texans are crossing their fingers and really hoping that Joe Mixon is going to be available because that team looked a hell of a lot more dangerous when Mixon was going out there and he was putting up damn 5.3 yards per attempt, compared to the Cam Akers 3.8 per carry. He is a massive piece of this offense. This is how it's going to work. This team is very dangerous when Mixon is healthy. But do keep in mind, don't take these numbers to heart because this is exclusively based off of Cam Akers being RB1 for the past couple of weeks. Rush plays, they're only rushing the ball 38.6% of the time. That is 28th in the league. 4.2 yards per rush, that's 20th, and 106.8 yards per game, that is about 19th. Their passing game is super efficient, and Cam Akers, again, is quite simply just not a good running back. He's not an NFL caliber sort of running back. Passing is different, okay, because this team is absolutely loaded on all spots on the board right now. 61.94%, that's number 5 in the league for pass plays. Not a run team. They love to air it out. One of the few air raid attacks it seems to be in nowadays NFL. Yards per pass are about 7.5, so average depth of target is around there. Outside of the numbers as well. Listen, don't get me wrong, CJ can dominate the middle of the field, but outside of the numbers, he's absolutely lethal. 38 passes a game, that is 2nd in the damn league. They're passing the ball quite a bit and 257.8 yards per game. That is good enough for 3rd. Now, one thing I want to point out, particularly right before we get into these wide receiver weapons, is that this team is highly penalized, folks. They are highly penalized. They are the most penalized team in the NFL with 10 penalties a game on average. A lot of this has to do with their offensive line, which we're about to break down, but just something to keep in mind. Circling back to their wide receivers, got to talk about them, right? Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell. Tank Dell was just confirmed to be able to play this Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. He's recovering from an injury, so certainly something to keep in mind. Nico and Tank Dell are typically the perimeter wide receivers, and they've been using Stephon Diggs out of the slot, which is going to be a very nervous matchup if Taron Johnson can't get back, for the love of God. But with Nico Collins, he's typically out wide, like I said. He's catching 71.4% of his targets, 488 yards in total, 5.5 yards after the catch on average, only one drop, and his average depth of target is about 12 yards. So they really like to use him as a field stretcher, if you will, and he's caused about 6 missed tackles. Now, when I look at this overall matchup, Nico is more than likely going to be paired with Christian Benford, okay? I like that matchup, surprisingly enough. Benford has been lights out all season, even during the Ravens game, surprisingly enough. So I like that matchup. We can't have him break the game, although that if any receiver is going to go off on Sunday, it's not going to be him. It's not going to be Tank Dell. As much as I hate to say it, it's going to be Stephon Diggs, and that's because they have him out of the slot. So far, Stephon Diggs, 25 for 32 out of all of his targets, 233 yards and 9.3 yards per reception. He's utilized as a slot receiver about 70% of the time. Yak is at about 9.6, which is absolutely nuts. An average depth of target is around 6.5 yards. So not quite as much as a field stretcher as Nico Collins is, but that's pretty common when it comes into the slot receiver by itself. So the matchup that I'm nervous about most is Stephon Diggs versus Cam Lewis. We heard Sean McDermott say earlier, okay, that Taron Johnson was a bit more of a question mark compared to Bernard. Bernard might be out there, which would be more than ideal. He's solid in pass coverage, but if it's Cam Lewis and if it's damn Balin Spector taking the place of Bernard behind him, it's going to be a long day, and he's going to at least have over 100 receiving yards, and he's going to make people miss. And I don't want that to happen because I can only think of all the trolling the national media is going to be shoving in our face for the remainder of, honestly, this entire damn season. But it is what it is, all right? And then Tank Dell, like we said, he was injured, somewhat efficient, not a lot of stats to be able to give you an overall take, but I love Rasul Douglas against this guy, and I love our safety room. Cole Bishop, Mike Edwards being able to make it happen. Let's go from there. Offensive line is interesting, all right? And I'm really not going to dive in player by player because I respect your time. However, a couple of things that I've noticed. Number one, Laramie Tunsil, who is currently listed as questionable with an ankle injury, while he's effective, dude's only let up 2 pressures, 1 hurry, and 2 sacks given up. What he has been doing to the Houston Texans, which has been a detriment to their entire roster, is the dude, man, is stacking up penalties, my friend. 12 penalties on the year from Laramie Tunsil already. Can Gregory Rousseau get in this man's head? Can he win a couple of reps? I'm feeling really good with that overall matchup. I really, really am. Even if he doesn't win in any sort of pass rush, sort of statistics, get this man to mess up. He's been doing it all year. And Kenyon Green, he's the left guard to Laramie Tunsil's left tackle. This is the dude that you want to take advantage of. He is letting up 11 pressures. He is leading this offensive line, 6 penalties and 2 sacks by itself. Like I said, this offensive line for a key for the Buffalo Bills to get with this offensive line because they can get got, all right? Send blitzes. Do what you need to do, man. Send a couple of DB blitzes because he can get got behind that offensive line. Get in their head. Do whatever you can to make them mess up at the line of scrimmage. Play complementary football. Don't give them any opportunities because this offensive line is going to screw them one way or the other on Sunday. Second key for this Buffalo Bills game is do whatever you can to give Cam Lewis as much help as humanly possible against Stephon Diggs. And even if you need to accept donations for a forearm for Taron Johnson to be out there and play, same thing when it comes into Bernard, we need to be able to attempt to neutralize this guy. I'm not so much worried about Nico Collins. I'm not so much worried about Tank Dell. I love Douglas. I love Christian Benford, and I'm even fine with Cole Bishop and Mike Edwards out there doing what they have to do as the safety tandem. It's Stephon Diggs. Do whatever you can to give as many insurance policies as humanly possible. And so third key is give me more nickel looks, folks. I have to see the nickel out there. So last week we couldn't do it, mostly because we had Bernard and Taron Johnson out, but let's pray that they are completely healthy. We're going to have to really show out that we have a way better run defense that we can, all right? This Houston Texans team doesn't run the football at all. If Joe Mixon is out, I'm going to be absolutely sweating, but show me as much nickel coverage as humanly possible and make your damn tackles for the love of God. I don't want a repeat of what we had to witness against Baltimore this past Sunday night. Make your damn tackles. So next up, we have to talk about the Houston Texans defense. And might I say, I actually like a lot of the personnel that they have on this squad. I mean, starting off with Derek Stingley, like he saved so many comeback opportunities in the red zone from the Jacksonville Jaguars last week. Really was a one-man show out there. I was always high on Kamari Lassiter as well out of Georgia. He is going to be the other perimeter corner. And then even Bullard as well, who is another UGA safety, who is deadly in run defense, but pass coverage he can certainly get got. But overall, this Houston Texans defense is allowing 23.5 points per game. That's 22nd in the league. Yards per game is 273.8. That is 5th. Opponent yards per play, we're sitting at 5th. And opponent red zone scoring is at 28th in the league right now. It's at 75%. So they struggle tremendously at stopping any sort of red zone attempts. Rushing defense is where I think that we can get these guys, surprisingly enough. They right now are allowing 4.7 yards per rush. That is 25th in the league. So God forbid that Khalil Shakir is not ready to go with his ankle injury, which I think he will be, especially since he was taped up enough to go against the Baltimore Ravens. This has to be a James Cook game. This has to be a Josh Allen running the football sort of game as well. And so we have to open up play action and get as many matchups as we possibly can, because I have a feeling even if Shakir is going to be out there, he's not going to be at 100% by any stretch of the imagination. 112.8 yards per game on the ground, so something to think about. Going over to the pass defense, have to take a look at what this team is putting together. Okay. Right now, they are allowing only 57.27% of passes being completed. All right. So this is Stingley. This is Kamari Lassiter. So they're linebackers, which are a hell of a lot better than anything that we have faced so far in overall pass coverage. All right. Yards per pass is at about 6.3, which is going to tell you that they're running a lot of too high safety sets. They're not allowing teams to go out there and stretch the field on them. So we're seeing 29.3 passes per game, pass yards per game, 161. That is 4th in the league. They are shutting down the pass left and right. Sack percentage, they are top 5 in the league. And I mean, honestly, when you look at it, have to take a look at what we're seeing right now. You have Danielle Hunter. I mean, listen, dude, we saw that guy out of Minnesota. He's absolutely a stud. Will Anderson Jr. as well, off of the edge. These guys are going to get to the quarterback. And the fact that we just heard that Deion Dawkins is currently questionable with a hamstring injury, and before I make everybody nervous, all right, he was getting his hamstring treated on the sideline in Baltimore all game last week, and he didn't miss an entire snap. So something to think about there. But what we have to do is take advantage of their interior defensive line. And so I'm not concerned about either of the guys that they have in here with Edwards Jr. and Fatukasi. However, I think that this defensive line can certainly be ran on. And one thing I also want to point out is that they have been playing some teams that don't particularly have. So pass rush is certainly going to be a concern for this offensive line, although that we have regularly been ranked in the top 10 in the league in general. Keys for the Buffalo Bills offense to perform well against the Houston Texans defense. Number 1, run the damn ball specifically in between the tackles. Whether or not that it's James Cook or whether or not that it's Ray Davis, whether or not it's Ty Johnson, I'm very concerned about this interior defensive line being able to make much up in the run defense. As I've said before, they are letting up quite a bit yards per attempt from running backs in general. Take advantage of that as well. Next up, has to be a Keon Coleman game. Don't be afraid of Derek Stingley, all right? He's a hell of a corner. He's going to do what he has to do, but as far as size advantage, Keon has it. Has to be that dude that can go out and get those contested catches. Number 3, run, Josh, run. You are damn right. I know that he still has his glove on. He's been playing scared because he's afraid that he's going to aggravate this injury, but he needs to run the football, man. We need to see some superhero cape Josh Allen, especially with how banged up this team is on both sides of the ball. He needs to take over this game. And then number 4, complimentary football for the love of God. That includes no turnovers. Josh, congratulations, no interceptions through 4 weeks. Can you do it again into week 5? I would love to see that. However, it's going to happen eventually. And play damn discipline. This is your second away game. I don't want to see us shooting ourselves in the foot for several penalties, and just make it happen. So now it comes down into my prediction. All right. And listen, you guys are going to absolutely hate me for this, but I actually have the Buffalo Bills losing this game. I have the Buffalo Bills losing 28-24. I think it's going to be a hell of a lot closer than Baltimore. But I'll tell you what, man, I am so concerned about the injuries that we have in Shakir. I'm still concerned about whether or not Bernard and Taron Johnson are going to be out there in general. Even if they are they going to be at 100%? I just don't like the mismatches. It is what it is. And let me tell you what, I will be the happiest person on the face of the planet if I am wrong. I will be pounding my damn chest if we beat this Houston Texans team, and I will be on one that you have never seen in the history of my YouTube channel. So trust me, I pray that I'm wrong. I hope that we go out there and punch them in the damn teeth. But for some reason, I just don't like this matchup. It's away. A lot of injuries on the Buffalo Bills side of things. While I see it being competitive, I just don't see us scraping it out. So then hopefully we'll be able to respond and take care of business against the New York Jets after they are coming back from London all jet-lagged and walk out of this whole series 4-2, which would be ideal. But ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on bell notifications. I love doing these preview videos. Please sound off in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. And before I let you go, you better always remember, let's go Buffalo.